Alright, so the name of this activity is choosing equations to match situations. So it says circle all of the equations that describe each situation, with the word all being bolded. If you get stuck, draw a diagram, and then we are expected to find the solution for each situation, meaning we need to find a value for x. So once again, we had talked about this a little bit yesterday. The cool thing about working with variables and the type of math that works with variables is called algebra. What's so cool about it is that you can use it to represent any situation in like real life to come to conclusions or answers about a situation. So let's look at how we can do that in the situation with Claire and her books. So, Claire has 8 fewer books than Mai. If Mai has 26 books, how many books does Claire have? Okay, so whenever you have a question in a math situation, the question, that's the number you're looking for, and the number you're looking for, if it's unknown, that's what's going to get represented as a variable. So in here we can see that in all of these situations, we are using the variable x. So what x stands for is how many books Claire has. Because the variable is the unknown number. It's what we want to find. So, let's think about what we know. So we know Mai has 26 books. So she has more than Mai. Mai has 26 books, which is more than Claire. Claire has 8 fewer books than Mai. Alright? So, 8 fewer books. So few is another word for less than. Less than means it's making smaller. So we could probably imagine this is going to be a subtraction problem. So the one that jumps right off the bat to me is letter D. Okay? So if we took Mai's 26 books and subtracted 8 from it, that would give us how many books Claire has, which would be 26 minus 8. That would mean Claire has 18 books. Awesome. But going back to our directions, anytime you see a bolded all, that's a pretty good sign that there's going to be multiple correct answers. So, utilizing our knowledge from our first activity on equivalent expressions, right, we have other expressions here that will give us the same thing. Okay? So, let's see. Let's see if we took this value, 18, and plugged it into these other situations. If it gave us a true equation, then we know that it's equivalent. So, let's try. So, instead of 26 minus x equals 8, we're going to do 26 minus, we just said x is 18. So 26 minus 18 equals 8. Is that true? Sure is. So this one is an equivalent expression. So once again, this is saying if we took Mai's books and subtracted the amount Claire had from hers, there would be 8 books left over, right? And we know that Mai has 8 more books than Claire. So this is equivalent. So that's another answer that would work. All right. So let's try and substitute 18 in for this next one. All right. So x equals 26 plus 8. 18 equals 26 plus 8. 26 plus 8 is 34, which is not 18. So B doesn't work. All right. Once again, so if we took Mai's books and added 8 to it, that's what this is saying. Take Mai's 26 books and add 8 to it, and that would give us the number of books Claire has? No way, because Claire has 8 fewer books, so no way that no way she could have 34. It just doesn't work. But now let's look at letter C. So once again, let's say we put in 18 for x. We did that substitution. 18 plus 8 equals 26. And 18 plus 8 is 26. So this one works as well. So once again, if you took the amount of books that Claire had and added 8 to it, that would give you Mai's books, 26. Yep, and so we could put right here, x equals 18. To write our answer as a complete sentence, Claire has 18 books. Okay. So, if you want, at this point, you could pause this video, and you could go through and try and solve 2, 3, and 4 on your own, or we could just go through it together now. So, up to you. So, a coach formed teams of 8 from all the players in a soccer league. There are 14 teams. How many players are in the league? So, I know there are 8 teams. Okay. Or, sorry. And look, I just made a mistake. Formed teams of 8. So, I actually made a mistake. So, there are 14 teams. My bad. So, 14 teams, 8 players on each, and we're looking for how many players are in the league. So, we've got multiple equal groups. To me, that sounds like a multiplication problem. So, if we do multiplication, it's always helpful to write a key. So, we're looking for how many players are in the league. So that's going to be our total. That's what we're looking for. And since we don't know what it is, it'll be represented by a variable, in this case, y. So how many players are in the league? I don't know. Y. Okay? And then we've got our number of groups. In this case, it'll be our number of teams, which is 14. And then the size of each group, or the size of each team, 8 players on each. So this could be represented. Once again, D is the one we're going to jump to, because 14 teams, 8 players on each, should get us our answer, and that would be 112. 8 times 10 is 80, 8 times 4 is 32. Put that together. All right. So now we've got to see if there are any equivalent expressions, then we should be able to substitute this value in to these and see if it gets us the same solution, or if it gives us a true equation. So, right here, we'll start with A. We're going to substitute y in with 112 equals 14 divided by 8. No. 14 divided by 8. Can't even do that equally. So 14 over 8 is the same thing as 1 3/4. So definitely not even remotely close to 112. So A, that's off. So once again, that's taking the 14 teams and dividing those 14 teams by 8. It just doesn't even make sense in this circumstance. All right, so let's look at B. Number of teams divided by 8 equals 14. Or sorry, number of players in the league divided by 8 equals 14. And 112 divided by 8. If we were to do long division, 8 fits into 11 once. 3, we're down to 2. 8 fits into 32 4 times. And so that would give us 14 equals 14. So that is true. So this one is equivalent. And once again, you can think about the situation. It makes sense. If you took all the players in the league and broke them up into groups of 8, you could make 14 teams. All right? And just to save time, I'll also say C is also the same thing. Dividing something by 8 is the same thing as multiplying it by 1/8. Okay? So I will leave these two problems for you to complete independently. Once again, there are 3 answers for each of them. Okay. And I just want to look at the next page together. So we have 2/5 of the vegetables in Priya's garden are tomatoes. Okay. So, how many tomatoes are there if Priya's garden has 20 vegetables? So, we know 2/5 of the vegetables. So I'm going to use the variable v. So if we took her amount of vegetables and multiply it by 2/5, we would get her amount of tomatoes. 2/5 times the amount of vegetables she has will give us her amount of tomatoes. So if she has 20 vegetables, 2/5 times 20 equals her amount of tomatoes. Multiplying a fraction times a whole number multiplies by numerator. 20 times 2 is 40 over 5, which simplifies to, fractions are division, 40 over 5 is 8. So that means she would have 8 tomatoes. 8 is 2/5 of the 20 vegetables she has. And then down below it says, what if she had X vegetables? So anytime this problem they gave us a value for a variable. This one they didn't. They just gave us a variable. So we're actually just going to rewrite our equation. So 2/5 x equals t. We can't actually solve this because they didn't tell us how many vegetables. So how many tomatoes would she have? 2/5 x tomatoes. Sounds funny, but that's the answer. So if they don't tell you how many vegetables there are, that's all you can get. You know, there was no value to put in there. So that's that. All right, now number 2, though, a little bit different. Priya's garden has 6 tomatoes. So how many vegetables are there? So earlier we said 2/5 of her vegetables equals how much tomatoes she has. Here they're giving us tomatoes, and we have to find the vegetables. So 2/5 of what is 6? Okay, so once again, this is next to notation. This is multiplication. There is no symbol. So whenever you are working with variables, you use inverse operations or the opposite operation to solve. So if this is multiplication, we would have to divide. We divide by the coefficient, 2/5. Okay, so 2/5 divided by 2/5 would cancel out. 6 divided by 2/5. We're dividing by a fraction. When you divide by a fraction, you always got to do that keep, change, flip. Keep the first number. Division turns into the opposite, multiplication, and we turn our fraction into the reciprocal. Multiply across, 6 times 5 is 30 over 2. Fractions are division, 15. So she would have 15 vegetables. Okay. Now, once again, similar type of problem. Want you to solve this one independently. So, school paid $31.25 for each calculator. If the school bought X calculators, how much did they pay? So once again, it's not giving you a number. So hint, this one you're just going to be writing the expression. And then this one gives you the total amount of money that they spent. So you're going to use the equation you created in this one to solve number 2. So go ahead and give that one a try.